everyone to the SACNAS Professional and Leadership Programs webinar series. Today's webinar is How to Leverage Your LinkedIn for Success in Industry. My name is Elizabeth Aguilera, and I am the SACNAS Professional and Leadership Programs Manager. I am coming to you from the original homelands of the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes in Aurora, Colorado. We are so glad that you joined us today. We also have Angel, a SACNAS team member who is going to be our chat moderator for today. SACNAS is a fully inclusive organization dedicated to achieving true diversity in STEM. As the nation's largest multicultural and multidisciplinary STEM diversity organization, SACNAS creates space where all members, volunteers, and partners feel that they belong and can embrace their intersectional identities. SACNAS is based out of California, which is the original homelands to over 200 tribal nations, bands, and rancherias of Native American and Indigenous people. The dark blue region that's represented in this image depicts the region of Cheyenne and Arapaho territory where I reside in. I would like to take this time to acknowledge the original inhabitants of the various regions which we all live and work in, as well as honor the rich culture of the Indigenous people across the country. It is our pleasure to coordinate and host these informative and educational webinars. For today's presentation, our panelists will be discussing all things LinkedIn as it pertains to industry. These panelists are industry professionals that will share their insights on how to make your profile stand out to potential employers and recruiters. At the end of their introductions, we will follow with a Q&A session. So at this time, I would like to introduce our speakers. We have Jenny Rapey-Smith, the Senior Talent Source Specialist at Wells Fargo. We also have Robbie Miller, Senior Manager, Strategic Sourcing at Gilead, and also Tammy Embry, Manager, Global Employer Brand and Recruitment Marketing Talent Acquisition at Amgen. How are you all doing today?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Doing great. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Elizabeth, for the introduction. Very excited and honored to be here. I'm waving hello from the middle of Iowa.
And again, lucky to have you all as our panelists today. So I'm going to start off with the Q&A portion of this webinar, and I would encourage all of our audience members to please use the chat to submit your questions, and we'll get started. So the first question that I would like to ask you all is, when did you create a LinkedIn profile and why?
I'll kick us off. This is Jenny Rapey-Smith with Wells Fargo, and I had to look back because I didn't remember, and I ended up finding out that I opened up my LinkedIn account in 2006, a few years ago, and that would be 2 years after I graduated college. So I would have been a young professional, just like I am a young professional all these years later. And I ended up looking at my member number, and I was one of the first million users to join LinkedIn, which I find fascinating. And with my career and my journey, I've always been in sales or human resources. And then that led into my career within recruiting. So for me, connecting and building a network and connecting with human beings has clearly been a top priority since 2006.
Hi, Jenny. Hi, everyone. I'm Tammy Embry with Amgen, and I think my story is very similar to yours, Jenny. I also created my LinkedIn profile somewhere in the early to mid 2000s. Gosh, we have member ID numbers. That's really interesting. I need to go back and check that. But I actually created my LinkedIn profile because I have always been, for the last 25 years or so, I've been a recruiter, and LinkedIn has been a go-to for me to stay connected with candidates through building my network, and then also through the in-mail feature. So being able to introduce myself and talk and educate folks on, I've been with Amgen for many years, so to educate folks on Amgen as a great place to work. So it has been an integral part of my job as a recruiter. And now as I've moved into recruitment marketing and branding, it is probably one of our key kind of resources and the foundation for our employer brand and the networking opportunity there. So it's a really, really important one for us. And I'd love to help folks with their LinkedIn profiles. And I help a lot of my team members and executives at Amgen, kind of helping them build out their profiles. It's been great.
Yeah, fantastic. This is Robbie Miller. I'm trying to, Jenny, I'm trying to remember how you can see when you created your profile. Where is it in your account settings?
I have to look back. I believe it's in your profile. If you dig around a couple options, and I can email it out, Elizabeth, to both panelists and the students. But I believe, yeah, it's in your profile under privacy. And if you dig enough, you can find the exact date.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think that's a great tip to start off with. We're really cooking here. And so I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that I created my account when I entered into the talent acquisition space, and I was connecting with so many people, and really wanted to share and communicate my move into talent acquisition and make myself available to others. And that would have been in approximately 2013. So that's when I made my profile and why I made it.
So hi, I'm Harry Williams. I work at Merck. I'm a senior specialist talent acquisition advisor, and I don't even want to remember when I created my profile on LinkedIn. I started in recruiting in 1994. And I worked for an agency doing commercial insurance and life insurance. So we started way back when the faxes were rolling off the machine. And your major form of communication was the telephone, and you worked off of sheets of names. So, and then LinkedIn came along, and I was amazed by it. And so I've just started connecting with anyone I possibly could, and then reached out. We had emails, conversations, and the whole ball got rolling when LinkedIn became available. So it just made communication and networking so much easier, so much more fun. I recall, and one of the contract jobs that I was doing, I would spend an hour a day just connecting with people and seeing how many people I would connect with before LinkedIn cut me off. So, and Lord knows I got booted off a lot of those. So, but no, it's been a great networking tool. Got to know a lot of people, and had a lot of collaborations throughout many industries, which has made it fun. So.
Wonderful. So with that, what information do you think has to be on your LinkedIn profile? How detailed do you think it needs to be, or what areas do you think need to be focused on?
So I'll take that. So I think it's basically what you want to use LinkedIn for. If you're a salesperson, you're definitely going to want to talk about your products, trying to attract businesses to your product. For us in talent acquisition, people are our products, and our jobs are our products. So we really try to attract the right individuals or a defined individual to help us fill jobs. But I look at it as a little bit differently, as I like to put the jobs out there so that I'm able to present people with opportunities and give them an opportunity to reach out to me and ask me questions. What is the job all about? So I'm able to learn about them as well as they learn about the organization that I'm working for, or the therapeutic line I'm representing. So it really does allow you to educate people, by the post that you put out there, just by the messenger. So it's really it's what you want to make of it, as an individual or as a business person or as a talent acquisition advisor. That's how I look at it.
I'd love to chime in here too. When I'm sitting down and meeting with team members and hiring managers looking to hire for positions and things, and we have brand ambassadorship as well. There are three things that I usually talk with them about to make sure that I think are at least to make a first impression. So one is making sure you have a recent headshot where you're looking ahead and you're smiling and it's not cropped out from like a photo from a recent wedding or something along those lines. So a photo of just you. I think that's great. Again, that's kind of your calling card. The second thing that I talk to folks about is an engaging tagline. A lot of times I see folks put their tagline in as just their job, like their job title, and you're more than just a job title, right? So I, tell them to think about, you've got 10 seconds to make a first impression. What do you want people to know about you? So something engaging that kind of tells more than just a job title. And then the third thing that I tell them to think about, and this is something that I think takes a little bit of time. It's not something you're going to turn around overnight. You might need some input from people that know you well and that have worked with you and know you, is kind of your story. So that about you section, it shouldn't really be a regurgitation of your resume. You can attach a resume to your LinkedIn profile, but it really should be about what makes you tick. Why should somebody want to click the button and say, I want to connect with you, or I want to reach out to you and consult with you or ask you some questions? So tell a little bit about your kind of career journey, your life story, but in a few short paragraphs. So that's kind of my take on what the three most important things that I look for.
And Tammy, I'll build off of that. I love that you said, you're more than just a job. You're more than just a headline, right? That's definitely a message that we want to make crystal clear as well. And I know, working in finance and banking, often people will add their hobbies or interests to their resume. And for us, that is not needed, right? Save that resume for your skills, your experience, your education, your classes. Do not list that. But LinkedIn, that's where you can list your hobbies and your interests. We want to connect with human beings. And I think in addition to all the tips that have been shared already is fill out and be a human. And in that section, list out maybe, where you are in your journey, whether it's school or work, list out how you can help others and maybe what your intention is on being on LinkedIn. And like Tammy said, you can do that in just 2 or 3 sentences. But I find that, when I list my hobbies like Toastmasters, yoga, biking, people use that as an opener and I get to connect with a human rather than just doing business right away.
I don't think I can add much to anything they said, Elizabeth. I think that's great. And the call out around, the human side of you, I couldn't reinforce anymore.
Sorry, I realized I was on chat. So I like that you pointed out, Tammy, especially, those 3 features, the photo, the tagline, the about me, how the about me isn't really an area for you to regurgitate your CV or resume. That being said, do you think that a successful LinkedIn profile should have that attachment associated with it so that you have that as additional information?
Was it Harry? I think you had said it sort of depends on kind of what you're looking for. And I think it depends on the stages of your career. If you happen to be looking for a job, because you can take it up and down, you can remove the attachment. When you're looking for opportunity, make it easy for folks to find out about you. So go ahead and add the attachment. And then when you're not looking, you can always pull it down. But I think it certainly wouldn't hurt. And I do think as you're putting your work experience onto your profile, again, maybe I definitely think it should be more than just listing the job that you're in. Maybe list a few, kind of high level overview of what you're doing and maybe an accomplishment or 2. I think that's important. Also, too, again, if there's some really great bodies of work that you've done, I know for me, because I'm in recruitment marketing, if I'm really proud of a video project I've worked on or, a blog post I've done, I'd like to link that to job opportunity as well and add that to kind of my portfolio of work. So I think that is really important to include also, because again, you want people to kind of get to know you, not just as, as a human being. I love that you said that, Jenny. So I do think, yes, you can attach your resume, but again, when you're not looking, maybe pull it off. You can bring it up and down. I don't know if the rest of you, if you would agree with that or have other recommendations there.
I would definitely disagree, or I'm sorry, agree with you on that. Sorry, Tammy. Yeah, no, I mean, it's your calling card. If it's your time to be looking for an opportunity, perhaps your career growth is stunted at a company, or you feel like it's just time to move forward and look at other opportunities. Yeah, definitely, you want to put your resume up there, and kind of just see what type of reactions you get. Somebody may look at your resume and say, hey, I have a suggestion. You might want to add a project to your resume, or take another look at branding yourself. So it's you have to be open to the criticism of that too. So I think it's your calling card during that time frame that you're looking for opportunities. So yeah, and I agree, take it down if you're not.
And I would add, this is Robbie. With this being a STEM audience, there's a very, very beneficial element that Jenny called out in terms of how dynamic a page is. You can include things like your courses, right? And Harry talked about there are various therapeutic lines that he recruits across. And so what it allows you to do is, by including things like your courses, it helps others identify, oh, you've done proteins. Okay, this is where we would put you, and this is why we should be reaching out. And you would be in research, or you would be in development, or you would be in strategy. So please hear that message and take advantage of that opportunity to talk about what you've actually done, because it helps us find you as top talent.
Definitely. And Robbie, Tammy, you'll agree with me on this from a branding perspective. When we attend conferences such as SACNA, it tells the audience, hey, these guys are going to be there. When we send out a post, that means that more than 9 times out of 10 that we're going to be attending that conference. And if you feel as though the organization that we are coming from is something that a place that potentially you want to work at, send us send us a message. Try and grab our attention. And just be like, hey, because with SACNA, there's times in which you can set up conversations with the individuals. So use that as a tool to get someone's attention and begin a good conversation with them. So, good point, Robbie.
And speaking of that, I can't help but to share that a new feature in LinkedIn is the banner. And as recruiters, right, we can change our profile banner to a purple banner that says #hiring. And for those of you that are looking for work, you can change your banner to open to work. And I am sure Tammy, Harry, and Robbie, we've all seen articles, pros and cons both. That's a whole other topic, but help us help you. And if you are looking for a job and you're open, then demonstrate that. That is not a sign of weakness at all. It's very transparent. As recruiters, we want to talk to people that are open to new jobs. And so help us help you by changing that in your banner. And Elizabeth, we can send out those tips possibly to you to forward out to everyone, in addition to finding out your member number and when you join LinkedIn. I'm building a list here. But use those to your benefit. Back in 2006, we didn't have that. And it's a beautiful way for us to just get right to the point. Who's looking for work? Who's hiring? And let that banner kind of guide you as you navigate how fun LinkedIn can be.
Agreed.
Give an insider secret here real fast, guys. So the tip that Jenny just shared with you could potentially get you a job one day, because what happens is, as we're out looking for talented professionals like yourselves, sometimes we put you in folders where we're just kind of thinking about you. We reach out and we just want to look at your background. But the way that LinkedIn is built now, if you change your status to open to work, we'll get a notification. And I'll be honest, it even comes to our devices. So I get them on my phones. And so we'll know, hey, you know, Harry is open to work. Oh, I've been waiting to reach out to Harry. Now's my time. So please, Jenny just gave you another diamond.
Wonderful. So to sort of follow up on that, in regards to, I guess, cold calling, right? So somebody is on LinkedIn and reaches out to you, and not necessarily submitting an application from an official LinkedIn job posting, but reaching out to gauge whether there are any positions available or where they could possibly see a good fit at your company. Is that highly encouraged or accepted?
Definitely. Why not? Yeah. I mean, for us as recruiters, I mean, we have full access to LinkedIn, and you know, the in-mails are not limited that we can send out. So we're looking at your profiles and we're saying, wow, that person's interesting. You know, I may have an opportunity for them. And then on another note, don't be afraid to send an email. If you look at the profile, I mean, I'll give this as an example. This happens to me a lot. People reach out to me and because I work at Merck, and you know, I'm pretty specific in the area I work in, so I might not be able to help them. But what I will tell them is, you know, listen, I'll find out who the recruiter is who's working on that role and put you in touch with them. So, you know, I'll send their information over to that recruiter and just be like, hey, this person's interested in, you know, in quality. I don't handle that. You know, can you reach out to them and just start a conversation? So, you know, I know if, you know, we all like to build our network, and I do recall there was a network of several different companies in New York City. All the recruiters would meet once a month to have lunch and just discuss, hey, these are my openings. What are your openings? You know, do you know anybody that would come to work for my organization? So don't think that, you know, just because we work for a specific company, we don't share information. So we do share information. So it's definitely, it's better to build a stronger, bigger network.
Definitely. I don't want to interrupt if anybody wanted to add to that.
I could talk for 8 hours on this one, and I'm trying to get my thoughts in a bulleted point. So at Wells Fargo, we have hundreds, maybe thousands of recruiters. And just to paint a picture of what it looks like, you know, no longer are the days where just because I'm in Iowa, I recruit for Iowa openings. We are an international company. So far, I've only supported United States openings. Maybe I can help out the international team someday. But I think a lot of job seekers, and it's a great mindset, right? Jenny's in Iowa. She supports Iowa. She's going to help me find a job. And I just want to encourage all of us with all of these tips is it's still your job search or internship or whatever it may be. And so, you know, to Harry and, you know, everyone's point, it may not be my actual opening that you're applying to, and I may not know the actual recruiter who is hiring for that job. But if we do connect on LinkedIn, I can give you tips and advice all day long because I'm not the actual recruiter. You know, once you apply to a job with us, you're now a candidate, and that's kind of a locked and sacred space where there's no need to reach out to the recruiter at that point. You know, let the recruiter do their job. They're going to look at maybe 100, 200 applications with our eyes, and there's no need to reach out at that point. And so, yes, it's that fine balance of who you know, and yes, we want to connect with all of you on LinkedIn as well. But, you know, keeping in mind that we want to help you be successful, and we can also connect to one another and refer you to one another. So just know that that weight of, I need to talk to the actual recruiter, it may be powerful at a smaller company, but at a large company, you know, I'll always give that advice of, I can look them up, but I'm actually going to give you even better tips because I'm not the actual recruiter. And so just kind of want to share that because some job seekers may get frustrated that they can't find the actual recruiter. And sometimes it does feel like recruiters are unicorns. So it's wonderful to see other faces because there are those of us that are on LinkedIn that we do want to be visible. We do want to help. And I don't have all the knowledge of all things Wells Fargo, but we're here to help. And so just wanted to share that tip. I don't know if that's applicable to anybody else, but wanted to empower and encourage everyone with that.
Yeah, so to follow up with that, with Jenny's comment on recruiters are like unicorns, or they might seem like unicorns, how would you recommend somebody who's on LinkedIn looking at a specific company or your company in finding you as a recruiter to reach out? Like, is there a specific recruiting search tool, or what are your recommendations on how they can find you specifically?
I'll jump in. Okay, the best tip that I share with everyone is look up the company that you're interested in. Example, Wells Fargo. You'll search Wells Fargo, you'll look at their company page, then you'll click the People tab and search recruiter. And it's going to do some digging and some detective work. Not every recruiter lists who they support, because it may change, right? One day they may say, Jenny, you're going to hire a teller in California. And then now you're going to hire an executive assistant in New York. So I may not support just one area or one role, but that's at least a start. And in our world, we have various titles like recruiter, senior recruiter. I'm a senior talent sourcing specialist, which is just another name for recruiter. And so you can look up to see names. Maybe you can find someone that does live in your area. They may not support your location, but at least it's a start. And so use that filter to click through all of our companies and look for either human resources or recruiter, and then start sending out invites. Keep an Excel spreadsheet of who you've reached out to, and just know that we will absolutely do our best to help you and give you advice along the way. That'd be my tip.
That's a great tip. So on another point of that, within our organization, you know, we have university recruiting, and then we have professional recruiting, and there are certain titles of position that you graduate through as you gain professional experience. If you're just coming from university, you're going to want to try and find those university recruiters, and probably having a one-on-one conversation with them is going to be extremely difficult, because they go through at least 500 to 1,000 resumes for each position. So when you're putting your resume out there on LinkedIn, you want to include some of those key words out there on the searches, because if they're searching for a specific job for a specific hiring manager, if you have those in your CV or your resume, they're going to notice that and pull that out. But in every organization, you start off maybe as an associate scientist or associate specialist. You move to a specialist, and then you'll move to a senior specialist, and then you just keep moving up through the organization. So when you're looking for that entry level type of opportunity, you're going to want to start to look at associate specialist or associate senior or scientist. And then that way you'll know that you're hitting the right target audience, and then you're more likely to get a call from a talent acquisition advisor if you're going to apply to the right positions. If you're just graduating, and you're coming out and you're going to apply to an associate director role, the idea of you getting a phone call back on that probably is a very small percentage. So it's knowing your audience and really knowing what positions to apply to. So that's just, I constantly get those where I get a fresh graduate and he's like, I like this associate director job, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. I'll talk to you and try and get you pointed in the right direction, but just knowing what opportunities to apply to that makes sense for your career development.
Wonderful. So to sort of touch base on that, would you say it is better for someone to apply for a position first and then contact a recruiter or senior talent acquisition manager specialist, or vice versa?
Well, I think that's an interesting question. I think it goes to many of the questions that are actually in the Q&A right now. For instance, I believe I saw a question there where someone is asking about making a career pivot, or trying to transition from academia into industry. And because they may not have full awareness or understanding of what various job profiles are, they might benefit from talking to a professional like those who are here on the panel, and trying to understand what do careers in the space look like, or where do my skills and knowledge and abilities potentially align to. But if someone is clear in terms of what they want to do, then they would certainly be better off identifying the role, and then, if possible, identifying the talent acquisition professional who may be aligned to it.
Got it. We do have a question in the chat about if it looks bad if you apply for multiple positions from the same company.
I'll jump in. Keep in mind the context of Wells Fargo. We have thousands of jobs, 200,000 plus employees. You know, the funny thing is I'm, competing with other Wells Fargo jobs. And so when I think about, other banks and other employers, there's enough competition out there. There's enough success for us all to grow our careers and find, the employer that fits with what we're looking for. And from my perspective, it may take applying to 5 or 6 jobs at Wells Fargo. I always say be targeted, right? If you know the brand, the culture, and what you're looking for, start with one company, maybe apply to 4 or 5. If you start applying to 10 or more, it can be overwhelming really fast, because I guarantee you're going to meet 10 different recruiters. You're going to meet 10 different hiring managers. You're going to have to do 10 different phone interviews. You may have to do 10 different interviews, and that's exhausting. And so you only need one job. And so my advice would be apply to maybe up to 5. Give it a week or 2, give it a month. That's a whole other topic. But for us, because we have a lot of applicants, you're not going to hear back right away. And yes, it makes it hard for us to compete when other employers can hire on the spot or very quickly. But as a bank, there's a lot of regulation and policy and procedure that I need to do behind the scenes. And it just takes a while. And so never read into the length of time it takes for us to respond. Do your part by making a really good resume, being intentional. Don't apply to everything. And I think you'll make progress with that. And you can withdraw at any point, but I think it's a good thing to apply to more than one instead of just having all your eggs in one basket. Other panelists, what do you think?
I agree with you on that, Jenny. It's a good point. I guess I would look at it as a perspective of make sure that you qualify for the position when you're applying to it. Don't just go out and say, I'm going to go apply to these 30 jobs. Because once you start doing that and other recruiters start seeing you, then it becomes a little bit of a conversation and, hey, this person is just applying to anything. So make sure that, when you're applying, that you actually meet the requirements when you're applying. I think there is a difference between Jenny and your recruiting and Tammy and Robbie and myself. So, we have certain offices throughout the US and the globe where Jenny, you're recruiting, you have offices all over the place where we might have specific locations. And that kind of brings me back a little bit to candidate sharing, where Tammy, you may have an office in California, and I may have a great person and be like, we don't have any opportunities in California, but if that's where you're looking, Tammy might have an opportunity for you with her company, or Robbie. So that's, we do have the opportunity to network, but I guess the big thing, make sure that you do, qualify for the positions that you're applying to. So if anyone else wants to chime in.
Yeah, I was going to bring it back full circle to today's topic when you think about your LinkedIn profile. So in your LinkedIn profile, you can list, as Jenny mentioned earlier, that you're open to opportunities, and you can list the type of roles and role titles that you're interested in. Now, from a practical standpoint, or theoretically, You shouldn't be applying to anything that you didn't list in terms of open work and open to work. And so that should help you crystallize your vision and stay targeted. So you're, to Harry's point, not just throwing applications out the window, because that's effectively what you're doing if you're not intentional. So update those profiles, the LinkedIn profiles, guys. That's another tip there you can do in LinkedIn.
Awesome. So for those that are transitioning from academia into industry, and you mentioned don't apply for a position where you don't, I guess, meet the minimum requirements. How can one highlight either the transferable skills or specific skills that can be translatable to that position, even though they don't meet the minimum requirements?
I'll jump in. Another favorite question to help answer. So for us in our world, I have to make sure you meet the required skills. That's the first thing that I do, even though I know you and I like you and I want to hire you. I can't do anything unless you meet the required skills. So my tip is always at the very top of the page, contact information, objective, 3 or 4 bullets. And if the required skills are 2 years of cash handling, for example, and let's say you have 3 years, tell me you have 3 years experience. If you're looking at that job posting and you think, ugh, I've handled my own money, but I don't think I've actually handled cash like a cashier or a teller. So I probably shouldn't apply, to Harry's point. And thank you. Save us that time and apply to something else that maybe requires no cash handling experience. But put it at the very top. Just make it really easy for us. I know often I'll get feedback from people. I had one just the other day on LinkedIn, and he said, I'm really disappointed that we couldn't work together. And I was sharing with him, unless you have 6 months of recruiting experience, there's nothing I can do for you as a recruiter. I cannot wave a wand and give you experience. And if I could, I'd be a billionaire. And we wouldn't need recruiters, and you just need to do the work, right? And so if we give you that feedback to say, I hear your transferable skills, but for us, it's black and white, like you need to have this. That's your advice of, okay, I need to find a job where I can handle cash, and I need at least 6 months. So I'm going to do that, and I'll come back to you. So put it at the very top. And for us, you absolutely have to have it. If you don't have it, that's your sign. Keep doing some homework.
I would agree with you, Jenny. Same with us. So we actually break our skills out to try and make it easy for candidates. Granted, we probably haven't explained that to you. It's not obvious when you necessarily look at it, but we break ours out into basic qualifications and then preferred qualifications. So from an Amgen perspective, because we are required to, we're very closely scrutinized that that our candidates are absolutely meeting those basic qualifications. So I will tell you, from an Amgen perspective, we're required to really compare you against those basic qualifications. The preferred are nice to haves, right? And those are in addition to, but those basics, you want to make sure that, and that you're articulating that and highlighting that so that we know it's pretty obvious that you're meeting those minimum basic qualifications.
So Tammy, I'll take off of that, and something for our audience as well. If you need sponsorship, the requisition should tell you whether or not it's offering sponsorship. So that, I know that breaks my heart a lot of times. I see somebody who's just a fantastic candidate, but they need sponsorship, and I can't give you sponsorship. It's certain departments have budgets that they can't afford it, or they're just not able to do it. And unfortunately, for a lot of entry-level opportunities, sponsorship is not offered, because when it comes time to go for the green card, and you have basic qualifications, the way that it's measured is if there's a U.S. citizen that can come in and take that job, then the perm process stops, and there's a potential of you being sent back to your native country. So that's a lot of time we try to save that heartache from happening The last thing we want to do is, have somebody deported because they don't, meet that requirement. So, a lot of times you won't see that sponsorship offered for an entry-level position. So.
I can attest to what everyone else has said here in terms of the requirements. The term defines itself, guys. So I'm looping that back to today's topic. If you look at a role from a requirement standpoint, and going back to your very first question, Elizabeth, what should be on your profile? I think a great opportunity is as you look at roles that you're interested in, if you have those requirements, LinkedIn is a great place to have a bullet point on those type of things, right? Because that's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for the requirements, at least to start off with. So I think going back to our very first question today, look at the requirements for roles that you're interested in, and it's a great opportunity to have those as bullet points on your profiles.
Got it. So we actually have another question from the chat, and that is, if, for example, someone proceeded with an interview and they ultimately were not selected or proceeded to move forward with as a candidate, how can they reach out for more constructive feedback on why they were not selected to move forward or received the position? Is this something that they can reach out to potentially via LinkedIn with a recruiter, or how exactly can someone receive that very useful and constructive feedback?
That's phenomenal that person has asked that question. We say often at Wells Fargo, feedback is a gift. We're always asking for feedback. And so kudos to the person who asked. For us, depending on where you make it in the process, there are certain people at certain times that would give the feedback. So if I phone interview you and decline you, we've invested 30 minutes together. So I'm going to call you, we're going to go through it together. And I really meet the person where they're at. If I can tell that it is not a good time to get feedback, they've maybe emotionally responded and they're really upset, I'm not going to really give them the feedback. I'll say high level, others more qualified, which I'll get to that in just a second. And, or I'll say, is now a good time for feedback? And if they say, you know what, I need a minute, I'm just having a bad day, I'm like, no worries, we can do this another time. So that's what I've done over the past few years that have been really helpful. If you make it to manager interview, our manager should be giving you feedback, and they very well may say the same thing, others more qualified. And I just want to say they're not lying when they say that. We have to protect all of the applicants and their names and their experience, and we can't come out and say, we actually hired Tammy because Tammy has 10 years of recruiting. Harry only has 6 months. Or, Robbie has a master's degree and Tammy only has an associate's. We really can't tell you the answer. But when we say others more qualified, we need to at least give you a competency. Could be your project management skills, your communication, maybe your answer for being a team player was indicating that you are not a team player, whatever it may be. So I think as recruiters and hiring managers, we need to give you the skill set or the competency and give you just a little bit more. And if it's your communication skills, that's an easy one, right? You did not communicate clearly. We weren't able to follow your answers. You didn't give us specifics. And here's some tips on how you can improve. So it's either skill set or communication. And please know that, when you hear others more qualified, we're not lying. We're not just giving you a line. We legit have other people that have more skills and more experience. And be nice to us. It's so hard to give feedback. It's hard to give declines. I know it breaks my heart as a recruiter. It's the worst part of my day, but the more I lean into the power of feedback, and if I can deliver it with grace, it can make a difference and people can turn it around, and then I'll hire them the next time.
Yes, something else to that effect, Jenny. I liked the feedback that you provide. I ask my hiring managers, and from our organization, if you've made it to the interview, then we should be giving you feedback. But I like to, I'll turn this around and as a candidate, if you are going to speak with the hiring manager or the recruiter on the results, just ask, what goals do I need to set, for myself for when the next time this position's open, and I apply and I interview for it. So, yeah, we can at least maybe say, hey, well, you might want to think about doing this for your development, so that the next time the position is open, you've already been working on goals for it, and you'll be ready for the next time that the interview comes along. So.
Wonderful, thank you for that. So we also have another question from the chat. So how can students with limited or no work experience use or leverage LinkedIn to help them get an internship or a job?
I say, if you're filling out your profile, and we've all been there, right? You high school, college, internships, work, whatever it may be, like we've all started somewhere. It is an honor absolutely to be here today, because when I think back to the Jenny in 2006, I was a nursing school dropout. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. I didn't even know what a recruiter did. And to think, whatever the math is, all these years later, that the same tool that I joined back then is helping me do my job now, and I get to meet people all around the world, and I get to do opportunities like this. It's really humbling. So just know, we've all started somewhere. Please don't get intimidated by other people's profiles. Comparison is such a thief, right? And so we've all started somewhere. We've all had short resumes. We've all had, just a few sections to fill out, but in time and in life, you're going to fill that out. And soon you're going to have a 2-page resume, hopefully not a 15-page resume. We don't need to see those, but give yourself some grace and time, and just start out with your school, your interests, your hobbies. Do you volunteer? I know in the COVID world, as you mitigate that risk, it may look differently, but there's virtual opportunities to volunteer. I know I was involved in my church as a little girl. I did 4-H as a young girl, and that was on my resume for the longest time. And clearly I've deleted all of that now. That does not need to be on my resume, because I've been working since 2006, and I'm very thankful for my career. So just know that whatever you have, your gifts, your talents, your passion, if you're not sure what that is, it's okay, but fill out something and help us find you. And it could be an internship or a part-time job. And just know that your path, it'll get you there eventually. So just enjoy the moment where you're at now, and fill out as much as you can, and be proud of who you are and the skills and passions that you have.
I'll also say too, I think it's nice, if you don't have a lot of experience, it's okay to ask for advice and guidance. So I actually love it. I mean, I will tell you, I'll admit it, sometimes it's hard to get back to folks right away, because I think all of us, especially being recruiters, you get a lot of in-mail messages, but we do eventually get back with you. But I really find it's very humbling when folks reach out to you and ask for guidance, and, hey, can you take a look at my profile? Is there anything I could do to improve? Would you have time for a 15-minute conversation with me to give me some tips? Maybe you're not quite ready for the position now, but I think the more people you can add to your network and have as mentors, the more the better. So I say, don't ever second guess putting up a LinkedIn profile or doing that outreach. I think it could only help you.
So the only other thing I can say about LinkedIn at this point, it does have a tool that helps you build your profile as well. It'll tell you you're at 62%, keep going, or you're at 75%. You might want to include, some additional information. You might want to include your hobbies. You might want to include, what you love doing. And Jenny, you're right. It's passion. A lot of times passion will get you the job. I feel as though 3/4 of the time I look for that person who's interviewing, and they just want to come through the screen at you, and they're so amped up about the job. I'm like, wow, what a great person to have on the team. Like, they're really excited. They're taking themselves from a learning to a teacher type of a role, and they're just very excited about what they're doing, or the opportunity that they're able to get.
I think that is about time for all of our questions. I do just want to share the stage to our panelists for any last minute tips or tricks regarding LinkedIn. The floor is yours.
Say that anyone in attendance here, I'll put out a challenge to you to send me a connection request on LinkedIn and just send me a note that this is where we found each other, and say that I'll always be available to you beyond just today. No question is too small as it relates to your LinkedIn profile. You send me a connection request and you have a question or idea, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, Robbie, for that same. We're now a recruiting family between all of us. And now, we're going to network and get to know each other. And we'd love to see your invites as well. And I know one topic that we didn't quite get to today, which we could do this topic for all 8 hours, is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I would say, back to that question of, where do I start if, I'm new and I'm just getting started? Find something you're passionate about. And if it's diversity, equity, and inclusion, there are endless amount of articles online right now. And, as a white Caucasian woman, yes, in the middle of Iowa, I do have diversity in my family. And, I myself have a couple autoimmune diseases, so I identify as someone with a disability. Plot twist, disabilities is not physical, it could be invisible as well. And so when I think about me advocating for myself and my autoimmune disease, even though I'm not ready to post about my own experience, but I'll find articles to advocate for people with disabilities. And I will share those all day long. When I advocate for people that are, Black History Month, I'm going to advocate for Black History Month. I'm going to advocate for, Happy Lunar New Year. I'm going to advocate for my LGBTQ friends. And so for me, I want to use my voice on LinkedIn as an ally and advocate for all of those people. And that's what the beautiful thing is about LinkedIn, is we're all advocating for each other. And so if you're not ready, to come out with what your story is, it's okay. You can still advocate for other people and build up that confidence.
That's such a good, oh my gosh, such good advice. Really incredible advice. Honestly, I have 2 pieces to kind of to add on to that. I think one of the things I love about LinkedIn too is getting to know about everyone's passions through the feed that comes through. And I love to see what folks are sharing every day. Sometimes I don't have original thoughts, but I love the original thoughts of the friends that are in my network, and I'll reshare what they're doing, or I'll share something that's happening either in a group I'm affiliated with or with my company. I'll reshare something that my company has put out there. I'm responsible for putting a lot of that out too. So I do encourage you to have a voice and, share articles you love, share some of the passions that you have, and engage others by including, include a question, or, ask folks to comment and, below and get conversations started. LinkedIn loves that too. The algorithm loves that when you get folks involved. The second thing too is I think there are so many incredible groups on LinkedIn where you can also have the opportunity to get to know people that have common interests, and then you can talk opportunity there. So wherever you have the opportunity to join in those groups, highly, highly recommend you do that. It's been really invaluable for me as a recruiter and recruitment marketing professional. I've met a lot of people that way also.
So with Mark, I will say that, and I'm sure that Amgen has this as well, and Robbie, your organization does too. The employer business resource groups, and it's definitely a place where you can go and join an organization, get to learn and understand people that are like you and want to welcome you into the organization, want to welcome you into their network. I know, when I post positions, I like to tag people from different organizations within our company, so that they can share the opportunity out to their network, and spread the word even further, so that we get to meet. It's a variety of people. It's just diversity and inclusion that we want to include everyone. I think it's a great way to widen our audience and give opportunities to anyone who wants to take advantage of it. So, organizations love giving opportunities. It's, sometimes it's just finding a different way to go about it. So, and SACNAS was for us a great way to, become more involved and develop a wider network, which has been so much fun, doing. And this has been a pleasurable day. So thanks for including me on this.
And please hear Tammy's
course.
call out as it relates to this topic. There are groups for you to be either an ally or participate as you think about a core value around inclusion and diversity. And so that's another great opportunity for you to utilize LinkedIn and what brought us here today. So fantastic, great comments.
Great. Well, I will go ahead and close this off for this Q&A portion of the webinar. I do hope that all of our audience members enjoyed the webinar. You can find more upcoming webinars and previous webinar recordings on our website at sacnas.org/webinars. And then immediately following this webinar, as we close our Zoom, you will be sent a survey that takes less than 3 minutes to complete. As members, your feedback is critical to us, so please take a few moments to submit the survey and let us know what you thought about today's webinar. Your feedback will help us improve our future webinars and identify new topics for future programs for you. So this concludes our webinar with Harry, Jenny, Robbie, and Tammy. I appreciate you all taking the time out of your schedules to meet with us. And I want to thank everyone for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Thank you.